Hey, Ernest got here, and it's time to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen and why I'm disappointed with the series. Something that would have been great. We are so close to greatness, yet we've ended so far from it with the series. Not just the ending, overall, everything else. So get ready for a very long video. I'm gonna rant, I'm gonna go into tangents, into what ifs, gonna talk characters, world, power system, arcs, fights, leftover plot lines, which there are quite a lot of them there, how I feel overall about the series, other things, especially what if scenarios, how I would have liked some things to go better executed and so on. But before we get into all of that, grab some snacks, sit down, and I have to preface some things, put a bit of a disclaimer here. I'm very critical of the series because I love it, and I'm critical in general of everything that I love, but Jujutsu Kaisen disappointed me quite a lot, and I'm here just to talk about my experiences with the series. I can't put myself into Gege's mind. I don't know his situation. Was this all planned out? Was this how the entire series is? He's super satisfied with it? I have no idea. Was he rushed? Don't know. Was it his health that affected him? Because we know the current situation for a long time with mangaka, artists, the overwork, the conditions, everything. I wish him nothing but the best health-wise and everything else there. And not here to say that I can do a better job than him, because I'm a nobody, a bozo on the internet, but I just wanna put my frustrations into a video along with my disappointments here, and I'm sure a lot of them are gonna be subjective, but I do feel some of them are very objective here. We're also gonna have some recommendations towards the end. I'm really curious, what do you guys think about the series? Do you agree with me before and after the video? I'm really curious about that. So let's get into some Jujutsu Kaisen mode and go through pretty much everything. And I'm probably gonna miss some things, but the main things that pop into my head and I feel are relevant, I'm gonna talk about them here. I'm gonna have some timestamps, and here we go. Spoiler warning. I'm gonna spoil pretty much everything of Jujutsu Kaisen anime, Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie, manga especially. I'm gonna go very detailed into some of the things, so if you haven't read, this is your spoiler warning. I don't wanna hear anybody complain, hey, you spoiled this for me. No spoilers in title, no spoilers in description. This is just the content of the video. Is gonna be full Jujutsu Kaisen spoilers, so it's on you if you have been spoiled about anything here. Again, spoilers ahead. So let's start with characters and focus a bit on the main trio, Yuji, Nobara, and Megumi. Now, as the first one, go with Yuji Itadori, the main character, which I feel he's pretty good. I don't hate him, but also don't love him a lot, because I feel he was a bit underutilized, and a lot of the other characters kind of stole a bit from him, overshadowed him quite a lot in some cases, if I'm being honest. But there was something there, a spark with him to go, but this is why I'm disappointed in the series. This is also related to the world building, history, flashback, characterization itself, character interactions, which are lacking quite a lot. Now, Yuji has a very big connection to the Jujutsu world itself and to a lot of the characters in the series, especially one of the main villains, Kenjaku, which we're also gonna get to him later on, and pretty much the beginning of the main conflict that we have in the series, him getting a hold with another great main villain, a problematic Sukuna being focused there, and another villain, which brings me to another one of my problems, having three main villains and not really using them properly. But let's focus on Yuji here, him and Mahito, which I feel was a great dynamic between them, and kind of focusing even more on Gojo's dream, leaving things to next generation, which I feel was underutilized here in some cases. But Yuji having all of the connections to pretty much everything in the series feels very lackluster how it was used here. Him being with Kenjaku, not really having any actual interactions with him, since Kenjaku was his mother, considering Kenjaku can jump bodies. There was literally nothing between them, like talking, interacting, everything, showing a flashback there with Kenjaku, going through all of that. We barely saw a silhouette of his mother, having more background stuff with his parents. That beginning, the first episodes hooked me quite a lot because I really like the concept of curses itself, not just as a power system, but curses from people. When his grandfather put that curse on him at the hospital there was such a great moment and made me think, hey, that's gonna be probably important later on in the series, right? It's not just curses as power system, but also curses as a concept, what it means to put that pressure on others and yourself. And even Nanami did it in a way with how his death ended and the final words between him and Yuji there in the Shibuya arc. But Yuji is an okay main character, very underutilized. I like him, especially the goofy side, him and Nobara kind of sharing a brain cell at some moments there. His power and growth, it just feels up and down sometimes. Like, I'm fine with it being a linear line just going up, 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 or sudden burst. But for him, it's up, down, up, down, up, down. He's just punching. That was great with him. Divergent Fist, I really like that, how it has that after effect. Having his ingrained strength of his body, he's one of the physically strongest character in the series outside of cursed energy and things like that. But here it's also underutilized because we barely have any focus on that aspect there from a writing point of view or characterization, considering Kenjaku created him to be this vessel for Sukuna. Like, we know his father is the reincarnation of Sukuna's twin brother, which was eaten in the womb. That's very weird, but also very cool and very fitting for somebody like Sukuna and the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. But I wanted to see more of his family. How did his father, Jin, got into contact with Kenjaku? How did that dynamic work? Did he know more? Anything there, flesh out that history of your main character. And also alongside with that, we also flesh out the other characters like Sukuna, like Kenjaku, which we're gonna get into both of them later on in the video, but it feels very lacking with that. And also it amplifies more and explains more his connection to those and also his power-ups, how building more up to those, his blood manipulation technique, his body, how he is so strong and so on. The more you build up something, the better it is when you get to that thing, and the payoff is gonna be worth it a lot more. And I feel like this is not satisfying. It's a main problem in the series overall, with a lot of characters, plot points, fights, and power-ups into that here. So I do like Yuji, but I feel he's overshadowed by a lot of characters here. That's not to say he doesn't have hype moments, exciting things that he does in the series, really cool moments, one-liner dynamics with other characters, but could have had more. And I feel like I'm gonna say that for so many characters, for so many things into the series, it's insane there. So overall, Yuji, decent. Now, another part of the main trio, we have Megumi Fushiguro, which I feel like this is a meme, but it's so true. He's the definition of potential man, not just power-wise, but also writing, character-wise. He could have been so much more. Like, his connection with Gojo, what that meant, especially considering his father is Toji, one of the coolest characters, and what he did in the series there. The clans, his connection to the clans, so much, his power being the 10 Shadows Chimera, what it means that in connection to Limitless and Six Eyes, the history of Jujutsu world in itself, what Sukuna did when he stole his body, using it in that fight against Gojo, and overall that was one of his main goals for Sukuna. But he's a fucking bum. And that annoys me to say, because it's such a meme and so overused, but it's true, at least to a certain extent there. We never got his domain expansion. His entire motivation was thrown under the bus when his sister was killed and she got more of a funeral than Gojo. We're gonna get to that. But Megumi had such amazing potential to be somebody. Seeing him grow, get to that level of power, get to that level of relationship with everything around him, accept himself, maybe do something about his sister. But his sister is like plot device, another plot device that she just got used just to put him down even more. And I get depression puts you down, and I was saying he could have just snapped and gotten over it when Sukuna took over his body. No, but that should have happened much better. The execution of that road, the series, like, why utilize one of your main characters in such a way that just makes people frustrated? If you build more up to that, do it later, or have him more involved into that, would have felt much better. Like, Megumi, such a cool character, definition of wasted potential, and there's gonna be a lot of things said with that, with Megumi in itself. Even his main fights are just against random bozos, especially that guy with the receipts in later arcs. They're like, sure, you finally got one solo fight versus a random nobody. That, yeah, that's great, great here. So Megumi, very frustrating here, but there's another one that is even more frustrating by a lot, part of the main trio being Nobara, and female characters in general in Jujutsu Kaisen. Nobara just annoys me. Like, I'm sorry, this is just fucking dumb what was done to Nobara, and way too early, way too sudden, and her return is just plot device, pure and simple. How are you doing that to one of your main characters? Like, commit to killing her. Like, I would have preferred having her death be final instead of having her return like that just at the end after missing the entire series. And I know in the world time it was much shorter than it was for us reading it from the outside or watching the anime or whatever, but even then, this is the entire series. She was missing so much time. Then somehow she's alive, even though there's an explanation for it. Just because it makes sense doesn't mean it's not dumb. And then she comes back, she's a plot device just used to help against the Sukuna Gauntlet there, which makes sense again, but very poorly utilized. I would have liked the main trio characters, and we're gonna get this into arc, get more build up for them, their powers, their characterization, go somewhere, grow power-wise, character-wise, relationship-wise, and in the world their dynamics with villains, and then later on we see their fate. Maybe Megumi, of course, gets taken over by Sukuna if we stay on the same road there, but in a much better way, instead of just losing his sister there suddenly, very underutilized. And then Nobara in the Shibuya arc just disappears for majority of the story because let me fridge her, Google fridging here, or I'm gonna have it on screen, then bring her back later like a plot device. Why not make her a curse tool at that point? And she just wakes up suddenly and she's able to do all of this, of course, why not? That annoyed me so much. Such a cool character, just made into a simple tool. So then we have one, if not the most important character in Jujutsu Kaisen, Gojo, or the most popular at the very least, and my favorite character here, but also very problematic character. I don't know if Gege actually hates Gojo. I'm not in his head. I have no idea about that. I've seen it everywhere, like the author hates his own creation. Could it be true? Perhaps, because like I said, he's a problematic character in itself, because he just steals the show with how much charisma he has. But the main problem with Gojo is his power. The power of infinity and his domain expansion, Limitless Void. Like, when you have a character so powerful that can solve any problem you have, it's very hard to write a story with stakes, conflict, and proper resolution, instead of just, hey, but that character could have solved that problem. But it's not impossible, and it has happened in Jujutsu Kaisen also, and it was done well having that character lose, because it's very important to make a character like that lose. Personally, I love overpowered characters, but it's very hard to do them justice instead of having just a power fantasy. Like you have in Isekai, main character is overpowered as fuck, nothing matter, you're just there for the journey to see how he's gonna win, not if he's gonna win. But here with Gojo, I didn't mind his fate, I just hated the execution, and we're gonna get into that fight a bit later on. And as a character, he's great. The sensei, his charismatic personality, his design, he's awesome. His power is awesome here. Basically steals the show, and he's also one of the biggest part of the Jujutsu world. Like literally around him, the world got a balanced patch. This is how overpowered this guy was, and nah, I'd win. I love Gojo. I just don't like how he was treated, and we're gonna get into that that fight there and what he did, and my favorite arc in the entire series here. And with Gojo's fate, with the ending, is kind of funny, ironic, and tragic. That pretty much nobody cared about him like fully to even have a reaction to his death. Not during the fight, but even towards the end of the series when everything got a closure. He cared the most for his students, for everybody around. He felt immense pain with losing Geton, having to kill him. But even just a small thing he did right after he was released from the prison realm, he was worried, hey, what about the people that were hit by Unlimited Void when he did that 0.2 seconds void domain to clear around there. Just thinking that a random offshoot comment, just thinking about them, recognizing them, acknowledging them. Some randoms got more recognition than one of the main characters in the series here. He gave everything for his students. He did the most damage to Sukuna. Without him, nobody would have had the chance to win that. Everybody saw him just as a weapon, just used, tossed aside even in death. And the most ironic thing, Sukuna is the one that even said, I'm never gonna forget you, remembering him the most out of everybody else. If that doesn't say tragic, I don't know what does. Now, let's go a bit over the villains, and I feel I want to start with Sukuna being one of the three main villains, I feel, for the series. He's great, but he also sucks at the same time, at least for me. As in great, he has aura, presence, power. Overpowered would be an understatement. When he's on screen, you're paying attention. Kind of similar with Gojo, two sides of the same coin here. And I like his depiction of being this inner demon that doesn't suddenly become an ally. Like we have in Naruto, getting along with Kurama. That's not bad. I'm not saying that's bad. I love that also. Or the Bleach dynamic with White and Zangetsu and Ichigo. I love that even more than Naruto. But here, I like just a straight up demon, asshole. He's not an ally to the main character. Towards the end of the series, he actually hates Yuji so much. They contradict each other so great. It's insane how much he hates Yuji. I love that about Sukuna. What sucks about him is his motivation, his background, his history, his build-up, and his conclusion. I know I said a lot about those things there. One of the missing things for Sukuna is something that boggles my mind. We haven't gotten an era flashback. Like, I don't want Sukuna to be this misunderstood, tragic character, have a sad backstory, and somehow he became this villain, or make me feel bad about him, or somehow justify his actions. No, but showing a character's history, motivation, how he got to be who he is, amplifies that character and also increases the world building. Seeing an Heian era flashback is not just about Sukuna. He somehow randomly beats 5 Void Generals. Who the fuck are those guys? Am I supposed to be impressed? Who are they? And the other guys, like, there, he fought this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. He's so great. Okay, show me some of those things. Take us back in time with that flashback, and also flesh out the Jujutsu world in itself, not just on Sukuna with Heian era flashback, not just that, especially what we've gotten in Culling Games, which is kind of dumb arc, we're gonna get to that. We had so many sorcerers from the Heian era and other eras there being brought back. Like, okay, they're cool, but I don't really care about them. This is a problem also with Sukuna. Such a cool character, but very poor building around him, his past, his motivation, and then later on his conclusion, which we're gonna talk about the ending. Somehow he gets a second chance after everything. It would be like me becoming a mass murderer, and at the end, I'm sorry, God. Okay, you get a second chance. No, no. And his fight with Gojo, and yeah, we're gonna get to that also. So Sukuna, cool as fuck character, badly written and built up to be there. The next villain we have, one of the main ones, I have to give it to Mahito. Such a great character, considering he just started as a curse. He wasn't somebody that had a history. This was his history, the beginning of his story, so to say, and his dynamic with Yuji was awesome, especially that IMU moment that we had in the fight. But also, I do feel like he overstayed his welcome, mainly because we have too many villains. Mahito suffers from being a great villain in an overcrowded villain group here in the series. We have Kenjaku, which we're gonna get to also. We have Sukuna and everybody else, the smaller ones around him. Like, Mahito and the curses were very underutilized in my opinion. I feel like they were just killed off way too soon or unsatisfactory. Like, the fights were cool, don't get me wrong, the fighting is really cool, but I'm gonna get into fights later on. Let me focus on Mahito here. Mahito did so much damage in the Jujutsu world, and especially to Yuji, with Junpei, what he did to Nanami, and later on the stupid fact with Nobara. That shouldn't have happened in my opinion, or maybe later on there. But you have this villain growing into becoming quickly one of the main villains, and then you toss him aside, because you can't really make him the main villain when you have two other main villains with Sukuna and Kenjaku. Like, I would have liked the curses to be the next generation of main villain if something else would have happened in the series. Mahito kind of stuck, not being able to progress further, so he had to be taken out, which was also done in a very unsatisfying way, because Yuji, after everything that Mahito did, didn't even get the satisfaction to land the final blow. Like, that rabbit hunter moment there, cold as fuck, seeing IMU looking down on him, seeing Mahito so scared, great. But then we have Kenjaku coming in and taking him over to use in his master plan there. Felt very unsatisfying not giving that one to Yuji, being able to land that blow, and would have been, in my humble opinion, as a non-writer, a nobody on the internet, a better moment to give more motivation, characterization to pretty much everybody, but especially Yuji and Kenjaku. Now, imagine here, this is just an one if, I'm gonna do a few more of these throughout the videos. If Kenjaku comes in and interrupts the fight between Yuji and Mahito and takes him away, then if you're still gonna do that, he has to go for that one there, so he uses it for his master plan. This gives Yuji motivation to go after Kenjaku, because while he interrupted the fight, he also takes out Nobara instead of Mahito doing something he has done throughout the series. He's always the one that takes something from Yuji. Like, if you're not gonna make Mahito next generation villain, at least use him for something satisfying. And if Kenjaku takes out Nobara, this gives Yuji more motivation to go after Kenjaku, and Kenjaku can still do his master plan of using Mahito thanks to his soul idol transfiguration power for the Culling Games, Tengen Barrier, and so on there. I would have liked that connection there on the fixed. A lot of the issues I have with the series, especially Yuji and Kenjaku not having any interactions there, and Nobara being taken out by something sudden because of a main villain wanting to get into the middle of that after she started chasing Mahito. I feel like that could have been handled at least better or something along those lines. But this is just me wishful thinking, what if scenarios and things like that. And also on the other side, if you don't do that, I would have wished Mahito be the next main villain, like the next generation. I feel this is a main theme of the series, but you have, especially with Gojo, wanting to expand the next generations, make them be better than the next one. Why not have it the other side of the coin, utilize the curses, be the next main villain? And I feel like Mahito had the potential to be a great main villain being built up after the old guard, the old generation is taken out. Imagine if Gojo and Sukuna take each other out as the two strongest, then you have the next generation coming in there for villains. Kenjaku just facilitates that, and I feel like Kenjaku doesn't really have a place in the story overall. And let's speak a bit about Kenjaku. So, Kenjaku, the third main villain, which I feel he shouldn't have existed, honestly. I don't like Kenjaku. Like, he has some cool things. I really like the brain one. I like his history being this most evil sorcerer in history, but he doesn't really have a place, honestly. Like, he does a lot of things, but even then his motivation is just, I'm bored. Okay, I'm bored also of you. And I don't like, I know a lot of people like the fight between him and Takaba. Honestly, don't like it. I don't think it fits in the series, or at least what I would have wanted from him if he was a main villain. He's like the poor man's Aizen. Like, he's not even close. He even had that moment in Shibuya when he catches Miwa's sword with his fingers. Aizen moment there. But I'm just like, why are you even here, Kenjaku? Honestly, why? Why do you exist? And even more annoying, because I would have liked Geto to have his place. That would have been more interesting if we kept that dynamic between Geto and Gojo, having that great arc there, the breakup between them. We're gonna get into that arc, don't worry. But after Kenjaku takes over his body, I'm just like, okay, sure, we don't get any flashback with him, with how he got into this point, what exactly does he want besides just boring. Give him an actual more motivation. And I feel like there was a motivation there. We had it between him at the end of Shibuya and Yuki, that conversation. Do we still stay with curse energy, or do we drop curse energy? That dynamic there, which is the better path for humanity? We could have answered that question, delve more into that topic, expand more the Jujutsu world and its future, and also its past at the same time. But instead, we got a comedy gag fight with him dying against a random character that has the most broken powers in the series, reality warping or whatever Takaba does when he thinks he's funny. Like, that fight itself in a closed environment is cool. Like, you can laugh at it, it's funny, it's goofy and so on, but I don't think it fits for this moment there, especially Kenjaku being one of the main villains. And instead we didn't get that, exploring that topic of curse energy and exploring the Jujutsu world, because he just fucking died and his entire motivation was being bored and he wanted to do the merger because he didn't have anything else better to do, and his fight against Yuki, yeah, we're gonna get into that also, but I would have liked more Geto or do a better Kenjaku, unfortunately. And speaking of Geto, let's get into Geto. Like, his downfall was great. And this is why, spoiler here ahead, Hidden Inventory is the best arc in the entire series. Have the dynamic between him and Gojo was awesome. And considering, like, I wasn't sure, I was anime only at first, then I got into the manga. I didn't know, is he still alive, who Kenjaku was, and then later the reveal, no, it's not Geto, it's Kenjaku. Like, start was interested, but the more I saw of Kenjaku, the more like, wait, one and more of Geto, can we go back, please? He was great, somebody that got broken by the Jujutsu world, and his connection to somebody that is like a god, like this guy can solve everything, like the strongest there between him. And having that moment when he saw what non-cursed people were doing to people that had cursed energy, the way he transformed, calling everybody monkeys. And also I feel like Yuki was the one a bit responsible in a way, like putting that idea into his mind when they had that conversation on the bench. That was awesome for her and also for him, like the villain origin story for a character. That was great, and we saw it in the present day for somebody building him up for the future. I wanted more of Geto. Unfortunately, we got Kenjaku's, which, yeah. Let's talk about Yuta. Yuta is awesome. I liked his arc, which was the first arc with Jujutsu Kaisen 0, the movie there with the overall series, because that arc came first before Jujutsu Kaisen. I do recommend, if you guys are gonna watch it or probably watched it or read it, whatever, it's better to watch the first season than the movie, get more context, honestly. But regardless of that, Yuta is awesome, and I liked Rika as a concept. How he was the one that cursed her and she became like that. That was painful, got me emotional, got me to care about the characters, about the world, what exactly it means to curse somebody, not just because of a power, but love being the biggest curse in the world. That was such an awesome moment, having there something emotional, something deeper than just fighting for the sake of fighting and I'm bored, like Kenjaku. Like, Yuta's awesome, one of the strongest characters, and having the Queen of Curses around him. Sure, he's not perfect, sometimes he feels a bit, I don't know, emo in a way, for lack of a better term, but he's also very shy, and if you get past that, you kind of understand why he is the way he is, considering his powers and everything around him, and the pressure he's under, and how much potential he also has, which he kind of got into it a lot more than Megumi, for example, but also very, very badly used towards the end. Like, the Yojo moment, him going into Gojo's body, is just fucking dumb. Like, that serves no purpose and doesn't even have consequences. And that comment, becoming the monster, taking Gojo's mantle, like doing that in a way, doesn't even happen, and somehow he's fine back in his own body and just has a scar, no actual consequences because of that. And everybody kept saying Jujutsu Kaisen is the series with consequences, stakes. Yeah, sure, of course it is. Felt at, for a lot of the series, felt like just killing characters for the sake of killing them. Like, that's bad. Now, this takes me into a rant, a bit of sidetrack. Yuta's great, I have some issues with him, but the sidetrack being, death is a great tool to use for stakes and give emotional attachment to a series. But you have two extremes. Like, you have a series where nobody dies, and I'm talking in a shonen series, seinen series, whatever you want. I'm not talking about slice of life. I don't expect a slice of life series to suddenly have stakes. Truck comes in, kills somebody, and they don't get isekai'd. No, I'm talking about a series where death is involved as a story point, world point. In a series like that, nobody dies, but then you also have the other extreme where everybody dies. Like, the other one is honestly not as bad as the one where everybody dies, but they're to both extremes. You need to find some middle ground. When you just kill characters for the sake of killing them, becomes shock value, and viewers, readers, people that are involved in the series no longer get attached. Like, why should I care? He's probably gonna die. Or even when he dies, that didn't feel satisfactory. Felt bad. Why would you kill that character like that? No. So that character, when on the other side you say that character should have died. That character should have died. Or that other character should have lived. When you have those reactions, somebody caring, that's a lot better, at least in my opinion here. So Jujutsu Kaisen kind of went into that extreme, just killing characters for the sake of killing them, or getting them out of the story, and feels kind of bad for that. And then later on, some of them are even brought back because why not? So balancing back and forth between the two extreme, sometimes leaning too much into either one of them. Todo is one of the best characters in the series, but unfortunately he suffers from the plot device of being the emotional crutch for Yuji. Like, when he's on screen, I'm grinning the entire time. When Todo is there, I'm just like a kid smiling inside. I love him so much. He's such an awesome character to have. Just, we are the exception. What kind of woman do you like? Great dynamic here. But every single time he comes on screen, later he's taken out and then brought back in exactly when he's needed for Yuji to bring him back up. Like, the first time they had a bromance with Boogie Woogie against Hanami, amazing how many times I rewatched that fight there. But then it got utilized again for the fight against Mahito. Then we had him back again with his Vibra clap. Even Sukuna acknowledged him. Like, Todo is great, is fighting everything, but I wanted more from him instead of just being brought in for fights. And this is the problem in general with the series. We're gonna get to that, but Todo, great character, underutilized. Now we come to Nanami, which I feel is one of the best treated characters, especially his death. Nanami is awesome, had great scenes, and in some ways he was a better mentor to Yuji than Gojo was, because Gojo was this distant character, this grander-than-life character, and even he himself admitted he's not very well at teaching others. He kind of does things by instinct, which I can kind of relate with that in some things. Some things come easy for me, but it's hard for me to explain them for others. But Nanami, the way he treated Yuji, wanted to help him, but also treat him as a kid. That felt great for me, considering Yuji never really knew his father properly. We didn't get proper interactions for that. Nanami kind of acted like a father figure in a way there, and his death was very satisfying, even though it hurt quite a lot. I do hope he's in a better place, being in Malaysia there. But also having that curse of love again put on Yuji, leaving it all to him, and the scene with him just kind of hallucinating a bit, being on the beach, and how far he was pushing himself, even though he was half burned there from Jogo. This is how you do a character death. Even now I'm getting a bit teared up. I cared about Nanami, and that's how you kill a character. Make me care about him, and doing in a way that makes sense. Having him go out, great. Nanami, amazing way to do a character. So it's possible to do it well, or at least in a way that I like it. I'm not saying my taste is the objective, factual thing. I'm really curious. Which deaths do you think are the best ones done in the series? Nanami is one of the highest one up there for me, and there are a few others there, especially Chosho and Junpei also. And Junpei was great for Yuji as a character build up, showing him who exactly he's facing against Mahito and Sukuna, or exactly this Jujutsu world works and how cruel it is. And speaking of that, let's go a bit into Chosho, since we're in the subject here. His connection to Yuji was great, especially how they started out with Yuji killing unknowingly his brothers in a way there with his connection with Kenjaku. Again, I wanted more of that, but Choso having that decision to go out like a human instead of how he chose to live as a curse, the regret and how far he pushed himself for his brother. Great way to kill a character that also got some redemption in a way, because he did some fucked up things, Choso, but the way he went out mattered, made me feel something instead of just killing characters randomly. I'm like, yeah, I don't really care. Kill him, whatever, or think it frustrated when a character dies or doesn't die, like Nobara, and then just randomly brought in like a plot device there. So Choso, another great character in the series. Then we have Toji, Megumi's father. Awesome character, but I feel like he stole something from Maki in a way, which we're gonna get to Maki also. Like, Toji did something nobody thought was possible. He defeated Satoru Gojo, but also on the other side, he awakened him in a way, and that's how he met his end. But Toji is just aura. Every time he was on screen, you were paying attention, like a lot of the other characters. But he was also part for me with that question: do we drop curse energy or do we still use it? That was awesome to see the other side, having that heavenly restriction, no cursed energy, but superhuman body there, and his mind, not just his body, his mind was one of the most dangerous things about him, and him being Megumi's father, being a bum of a father, that would be an understatement. He wasn't a good father, but leaving that to Gojo, to the guy that killed you, that's a great character in my opinion there. Not the best of father, he's not gonna win that award there, but then he was randomly brought back in, and that kind of made me question, is resurrection possible in the series? That felt a bit like bait with Gojo. Is he coming back? Is he coming back? Toji did come back in a sort of way, taking over the body of somebody else there. He barely had any interactions with Megumi, to say the least, but this is also part of his connection with the clans. Megumi's connections with the clans and Toji. The clans fucking suck. Honestly, they suck. I wanted more from them. What are these clans even doing? I would have liked an arc with the clan wars, expanding more of the world building in Jujutsu Kaisen there. And this is why I said it takes a bit away from Maki, because she kind of becomes like a female Toji in a way. Like, Maki was great. I would have wished for her to have that option. Speaking of Maki, awesome character, probably one of the best treated female characters, but the bar is very low. Giving her the option of, hey, let's focus a bit on that question: curse energy or no curse energy. Is she gonna choose to go the path of the heavenly restriction, or is she gonna pursue curse energy there and maybe utilize her sister better in a way? Having somebody to expand more on that, and instead of just her being the next Toji, but female this time, and still being treated pretty badly around the series. Like, Maki, great character, done dirty. Toji, great character, did his job for what he was. Could have done better with him, his connection to Megumi and the clans, but that's a bigger problem in the series. Now we're gonna speedrun through a bit of them here. I just have one question. Why the fuck do the Kyoto students exist? Like, most of them, except Todo. Aoi Todo. Like, was great, but the others, why were they even there? Like, they barely did anything. Useless Miva. Sure, she was awesome. But what the fuck did she do? Kamo. Mai, the sorcerer girl, Momo Nishinoya, or whatever her name was. Okay, Mekamaru had a great moment. He was probably the one that accomplished the most outside of Todo, but why exactly do they exist? And the other school, what happened with, like, world building, random characters? Sure, I know this mythical editor, did he do or didn't do Force Gege or whatever, get this tournament arc between the series. That was back when we thought we had good female characters there. I'm like, yeah, Kyoto students exist. Now with Culling Game characters, Yorozu had some potential there to expand a bit more on Sukuna, but she just felt like an obsessed character and Sukuna didn't give two fucks about her, which is kind of consistent with him, but I didn't like how her power was this interesting concept that it's impossible to even do, prove like a perfect sphere, something that has that potential to apply the same pressure on any point it touches, immense, impossible pressure there. I'm not a physicist to explain it properly. But then he's like, I don't care, I've seen it before. And she tried to teach him about love and put that curse on him, but no, he didn't give two shits. But okay, sure, that's whatever, consistent for Sukuna. But then you take Megumi's motivation just for that, to have Yorozu take over her body. I'm like, okay, sure, random character destroys another main character, because why not? Angel. Out of light more from Angel and Hana, but especially with Angel. Give me some history there. Why does Angel hate so much Sukuna? Why is Sukuna the fallen one? And that ladder was... Jacob's ladder is like... yeah, something very badly utilized. Then Takaba, said, I'm not a fan of Takaba, maybe if he was in another series. Kashimo is another one part of the question with the strongest there. A really, really cool character. Cool fighting, cool power-ups. But why? What does he actually do? He gets clapped. His fight with Hakari, speaking of Hakari, I really like Hakari's personality. I like characters like that, gambling, the dancing. His power seems cool. But what beyond that? What makes me care about them beyond that? Higuruma, there was something there, although I feel like this rivaling Gojo potential kind whatever, everybody measuring up against Gojo. Then his power with the judge, just stealing Sukuna's curse tool. I mean, yeah, sure. Why not? And then somehow Higuruma surviving, he makes it out at the end of the series. Ryu was fun character. He had some potential there. I liked his personality. Again, not really a backstory for him. Don't really care. What happened with Uro, we still don't know. Honestly, the receipt guy that Megumi faced, I'm like, whatever. Don't really care about that guy. Uraume. Oh yeah. I wanted more about Uraume. Even more considering how the series ended with Sukuna's choice, and we're gonna get into that. And Uraume fucking with Hakari. We know they fucked. That fight getting randomly solved. Speaking of frustrating things, what the fuck is Tengen? Some history, some more build-up for Tengen. The barriers, the Jujutsu world, what exactly do those mean? How did Tengen get into that being there? I know why she looks right now like a curse because of the arc. She didn't get Rika, the vessel there, but I mean, before that, some flashback for Tengen. The history between Tengen and Kenjaku, the connection there between them. What does it mean for the Jujutsu world with Tengen to exist? Like, one of the most important characters for the build-up of the world barely gets fleshed out in Jujutsu Kaisen. The main disaster curses. Jogo was really fun, especially at the start when he faced Gojo. And even I underestimated Jogo. I always thought he's not really that powerful. But when you look back at it, he always faced the strongest characters in the series. First time he fought Gojo, he got clapped. Of course, he looks very weak. Second time he faced Sukuna, he got clapped hard. But when you look at what he was able to do and how powerful he was, especially that fight against Sukuna, like, Jogo is a fun character. Could have had potential to do more with him with all of the curses, honestly. If they were used as the next villains, would have fit the series much better. Hanami was awesome as their concept a bit here. Hanami being nature, Jogo being earth or fire, in a way Mahito being the soul, and Ocean being, what was his name? I'm drawing a blank right now. Dagon being the ocean. Like, having these concepts into the world, what it means for that. Hey, maybe cursed energy is looking, maybe humans are the problem, using them to take out humans. Exploring some concepts in a way with these curses. I feel like they were very heavily underutilized. Like, the fights were cool. I liked Gojo squashing Hanami like a bug there in Shibuya. Jogo versus Sukuna, awesome fight. Dagon is probably the weakest out of them overall, and his fight, but underutilized. Shoko just feels like a medical kit randomly used there. Mei is a groomer, we know that scene there. Yuki, very badly treated, like this, one of the most powerful character in the series, domain expansion for her. Her fight with Kenjaku just sucked, honestly, and even then when she faced Kenjaku at the end of Shibuya, she was just standing there. Do something. Okay, let's talk characters overall. I didn't go through every single character. The video is already probably gonna be too long. But I have just one question in the popularity poll. Why the fuck is Naoya at number 5? Explain yourself, Jujutsu Kaisen fandom. How is Naoya at number 5? Over Choso, over Yuta, over Nanami, even over Sukuna or Toji. Like, how? How is Naoya there? But anyway, overall, characters, a lot of them could have used more history, build up, especially character interactions. I feel like this is the main problem in Jujutsu Kaisen. We need more character interactions, build up of relationship between them, downtime between fights, because while fights are great, it's not just about the fight. A fight gets amplified if you care about it, the motivation, the build up to it, letting characters grieve a bit to the outcome or react to what happened around them. Also, female characters are so badly treated in Jujutsu Kaisen, it's insane. So, we talked characters, let's talk a bit world building and the Jujutsu world, the sorcery world, curse, energy and everything. We're gonna get into power system later on now. The world building starts off very interesting, hooks you quite a lot. This concept of curse energy from negative emotions of humans, I like it, what it means that for humans in general, for the world outside, for everybody involved into it, curse spirits being a thing, but then feels less and less and very underutilized. The clans are so useless, like what do they even mean? And Maki kills the Zenin clan instantly, they barely did anything, and even then we had random characters that they were just there to give her a power up, the sword guy and the sumo guy, because why not? The other clans are useless. Gojo clan only has one member with Gojo, what's up with that? Instead of having some actual power struggles with the world, with the higher ups and what it meant that and why were they always just so shitty. We get a random chapter towards the end that talks about simple domain lore, because why not? We're close to the end. Instead of getting satisfaction, we get a simple domain lore exposition dump there instead of the Jujutsu Kaisen world. Missing so many flashbacks for characters, for powers, for everything. Imagine, for the biggest fight in the series, Gojo versus Sukuna, with how that ended, if we got on a flashback between the original users of 10 Shadows and Limitless 6 Eyes, the fight between them, showing the possibility of a word slash that Sukuna did, a build up to that, seeing that confrontation and why he wanted that power up there, to see, to expand more anything. And this is why you need Heian era flashbacks, Tengen flashbacks, build up to things, show the history of characters, of world, of powers, and also what happens after, which we're gonna get into the leftover section towards the end of the video. But the world building, another aspect that was heavily underutilized, and I'm probably missing so many things that I'm not touching upon here that could have used more time for Jujutsu. I'm not saying every single detail, I don't need, or say I'm saying that every series needs to be something like One Piece, for example. Well, the world is so massive, it's insane, but there's a difference between that. Again, coming to two extremes, death or no death, but here, insane world building or very small world building. We can meet a bit into the middle or closer to either extreme, but when you go into the one that is so poor, just makes you frustrated and leaves you annoyed with so many things, and it leaves a lot of things, readers doing more interpretation and work for the series itself than we could have gotten from this one. It feels like a lot of the time the series is a lot of tell but no show. And speaking of that, let's get a bit into the power system, which I love it, but also think has very big problems. Like, the concept of cursed energy is great, domain expansion are awesome, of course very heavily Bleach inspired. Curse technique, reverse curse technique, having two ways of utilizing that is great. The dynamics between them also being related to the character, some being inherited with the blood manipulation one. Curse spirits in itself also part of the power system, souls being very important to that. But also on the other side, we have some things that just simply suck. Simple domain sucks, that the lore for it just, we should have gotten that into a training arc. And speaking of training arcs, we needed more training arcs, to say the least. Curse tools feel very heavily underutilized. Even now we don't know what Sukuna's curse tool actually was here. Now we have two cool thing, and probably the coolest thing for me outside of domain expansion has to be something very simple in the power system. I love giving a reason for monologues and explaining how your power works. Like, a lot of series have characters, be it villains, main characters, side characters, randomly explaining how their power works. Hey, I can do this because it works like this. But in Jujutsu Kaisen, you actually have a reason for that. Telling someone how your power works amplifies it. When I saw that, oh damn, that's genius. I love that. There are so many things genius in the series, but something like this, I love it so much. But then we also come to the worst part of the power system for me. Binding vows. Blow ass big time, especially for Sukuna. But binding vows in itself are a core concept, very much so better used in Hunter x Hunter, because they actually have consequences. And here, you just use a binding vow, it feels like mainly for gaining something. We still don't know what happens when you break a binding vow. I would have loved somebody to break one, actually see the consequences of that. Is there some curse energy god that comes down and smites you if you broke a binding vow? Do you lose your curse technique? Your blood vessel explodes? I don't know, something, a downside for breaking these binding vows, because it feels like I'm not gonna wipe my ass with my left hand, but my right hand is able to wipe my ass 3 times as fast. I have no idea. What does it mean to break a binding vow? And sometimes I feel like they're so overused just to get out of writing yourself into a corner. Binding vow. He did it with a binding vow. I'm exaggerating a bit, but that's how it feels sometimes with them. Especially Sukuna. He's the most guilty about this. So binding vows suck. Cool concept, very, very badly utilized. And it's one of the biggest problems in the series itself, binding vows. Now, let's get a bit into the arcs. Already talked a bit about Curse Shell or Jujutsu Kaisen 0 with Yuta. Awesome arc, I liked it for Yuta, emotional there. But then we get into actual Jujutsu Kaisen, the beginning with Yuji and the main story. Like, I like the start, I like Yuji just being put on execution instantly. Gojo swapping in there, the small fight we had at the start versus him and Sukuna there, the Jogo fight, Yuji's build up, what it means to get into this Jujutsu Kaisen world. I was hooked, and this is why I'm even making this video, because I was so disappointed after the start of Jujutsu Kaisen. I feel like season 1 and the arcs in season 1 are better than season 2, yes, even Shibuya, except Hidden Inventory, we're gonna get to that. But the start was great, got me into that, caring about the characters, caring about the world. It wasn't the most riveting start, like it blew my mind off, but I was hooked, something that I really liked, and the characters were great, the concepts, the power systems, the world, I was very interested into it, and this is how you start a series. At least for me, it worked. Then we had the tournament with the Kyoto students, which was fun, but then we saw later they didn't matter at all. I like the death painting arc for the world building, Yuji's brothers there, the connection with Kenjaku, his fight, Yuji, and his choices to actually finally being able to kill them. Nobara also was great in that arc. Awesome seeing them go on mission, showing the potential of what they can do as the trio, the main characters of the series, which is why it made me even more annoying how they were used later on. I feel like how much I love it at the start made me more disappointed towards the end with what we could have had. Then we come into season 2, and what I feel personally, that is the best arc in the series, Gojo's past and Hidden Inventory. Awesome, the peak of the series in my opinion. Focusing on Gojo, what it means to be the strongest, seeing Geto's downfall, which made me want him more even as a villain. That question, are you the strongest with Gojo or are you Gojo? Oh, awesome concept to expand, delve deeper into. Seeing a character this powerful get defeated, because we already knew how he was in the present, seeing him get defeated, somebody actually doing it. Toji, his introduction, his connection to Megumi, there, how he was able to defeat Gojo with the prep time, actually showing how you can circumvent an overpowered character being able to solve any issue. You don't fight him directly, you put him into a bad position, and even when you're overpowered, you can solve every problem if that problem is not just about fighting and having to protect somebody, not being fully in control of your powers. That was great, and seeing it on the other side with Geto, his downfall, losing Rika there. Amazing. That was like, they're gonna save her, right? And then when she actually died, this is how you do a shocking death. That's good shocking. But the other ones, just for shock value, they lose that value so much. Rika also, build up for Tengen, for the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. Awesome stuff in Hidden Inventory, the fights are great, Gojo coming back, the Honored One moment. Only praise I have for this arc. This is how you do good writing. That moment in the shower for Geto, seeing him slowly fall down, the way we saw him later on in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, the movie with the monkeys, how badly he was turned, how he was there. We saw the beginning of that. We also saw how Gojo affected the balance of the world. how he got to be this strongest one, because we saw we saw him as a low point. He actually failed, and questioning, is he gonna go down the same path as Geto in that moment at the end there with those cultists? So many good things. I could go on and on about this arc. That's how good it was, or how much I liked it personally. If we could have gotten more of that, exploring different concepts with the series, I already listed a lot of them, the series would have gone so much better in my opinion. But after this was the beginning of the downfall, at least for me and my enjoyment of the series. We have the Shibuya arc. Every manga reader was saying this is the next best thing, the best arc in shonen ever, even beyond shonen. It's gonna blow your mind so much. It's gonna scratch your balls that you're gonna come every time you do everything about Shibuya. I disagree. This was the beginning of the cracks in the series for me. Like, Shibuya is great, but it's too early. If we would have gotten another arc before Shibuya, we could have had that conversation. And even then, I don't think, but it would have been better, or I would have liked it more. A training arc before it, preparing for some things. This is why it kind of worked better because of the other arcs, because the first arcs acted a bit like that, but they were built up for the overall bigger story, not just for Shibuya. If we got an extra arc for Shibuya, would have gone down much better. There are at the start some random fights there. The fights are great, don't get me wrong, and I do like the concept of taking Gojo out of the equation and showing the curses, utilizing that plan, facing somebody they can't defeat 1 versus 1 there, or even if they went together. Having that threat being on the other side, kind of like My Hero Academia did it with the villains, and we're gonna talk more about other series also. But the start, great there, but then it goes downhill, just fights for the sake of fighting. No time to breathe, the build up to it wasn't that good for the characters here. Getting something more before it, some more planning, some more downtime, even during it, the fight there, just no room for breathing. Downtime is very important, and amplifying the fight with emotion makes them much better. Then Mei suddenly decided to run off and fuck off. The way it ended there, Kenjaku enacting his plan, Yuki just standing there, Nobara being taken out randomly, Yuji not getting the satisfaction of taking out Mahito. Already touched upon those. Look, for me, Shibuya is not this grand masterpiece like a lot of people are saying with Jujutsu Kaisen. I do like it. I think it's one of the better arcs in the series. I don't think it's the best or the best overall arc, even outside of Jujutsu Kaisen. Then we had the Itadori Extermination arc, him versus Yuta. That was good. We get some build up with the world, what it means, that execution, what Gojo left behind when he was sealed. Something where I actually did like this, like a build up arc in between something more important, which we should have gotten before Shibuya, something like this. Then we had the perfect preparation arc, which I didn't like the clans being so poorly utilized, like Maki taking out the Zenin clan. Hey, great stuff just for turning off your brain and seeing things go wild, fights there. I would have liked more from the clans, more from Maki. Then Hakari's introduction was okay. Like, this arc was decent, to say the least. Was an okay arc. I do have some issues with it, but I didn't hate it. There wasn't something big that stood out except the Maki stuff. The clans sucked ass. Yaga died for nothing. Gakuganji still being stubborn, even though he mellowed out at least towards the end. But Yaga honestly made me a bit mad how he was used there. Something with Tengen working a bit towards getting Gojo out. I like something like that. Prep stuff for things. So preparation, good things and bad things. Then we come to Culling Game, which I think Culling Game sucks. I'm gonna be honest. Fights are interesting, but Culling Game is like, feels like random bullshit going on to me. Just taking random action figures and smashing them against each other, just for the sake of it. Like, if you want just fighting, there are series that do it better, which we're gonna talk about it here. Like, the arc was okay, but it just fights for the sake of fighting. And even more with random characters, which I don't care about. The Heian area sorcerer, the receipt guy, I honestly don't care about at all. Already touch upon the characters. Angel, I wanted more from her. Yuta, his fight against the 2-1 Rio and Ura. Awesome as a fight, but as a plot progression, characterization, relationship, emotional thing, I'm like, yeah, I don't really care about them, even if he wins or loses. I'm like, sure, whatever. There, Kashimo, cool character, but just a random character. His fight against Akari, probably the coolest. I really like their clash. They're having this invincible regenerating character with Akari and still having a way to lose against Kashim. Like, their fight was cool. Then Maki just fighting those random bozos that she gets powered up from the sumo guy and the samurai guy. Just like, okay, now I am becoming a curse. It just feels like random things just happening there for the sake of it. Okay, we got that. What else am I missing there? There was something. I liked Sukuna being able to take over Megumi's body. Like, that was interesting, finally going for it, but also kind of ruins Megumi as a character a bit in a way, considering his motivation got tossed in the river with his sister Yoroza existing. That I would have liked him to still have something to fight for in the end. They're like, hey, maybe you could save your sister, maybe you couldn't, maybe you rebel against that. But after that, he was just relegated to just being this bum depressed guy. And I'm saying, when you're depressed, it's very hard to get out of it. I'm not trying to diminish that, but putting him in that state feels underutilized. You're already very down on himself. Amplifying that even more just removes him as a character, which I feel does him a disservice, considering his potential, again, making him the potential character. And throughout the arc, cool fights, felt random in a lot of the places. Culling Game continues, even the rules for it, I'm like, whatever. But then we get finally Gojo returning. Let's finally get into that fight. Gojo versus Sukuna. Probably the best and worst fight in the series. I don't mind the outcome. Gojo was very obvious from the start. He was leading up to his death, even though he's my favorite character. No issues with that. The way the story was set up without what ifs and going to other things, which are gonna go a bit later on, it made sense for him to die. Zero issues with that. I just don't like how it happened. That fucking blows. A random world cut binding vow when it was needed, and then off-screening it. Not even actually properly showing, just Gojo 1 gets off-screened the next chapter. Yeah, that sucks. Like, sucks big time, honestly. That annoyed me so much and still does. Again, I'm fine with the outcome killing Gojo, just do a better job at it. Especially when that fight was so cool, the back and forth, the changes in Gojo's domain, adapting on the fly, him doing that much to Sukuna, how much he did in that fight. Sukuna utilizing everything. Mahoraga-chan, save me. The 10 shadows there. The other curse that he used there, I can't remember his name right now. But that fight was great. Him finally taking damage from Unlimited Void, really, even though he unloaded some of it on Megumi. Back and forth, gripping fight. Insane how good that fight was throughout the series. Then you fumble the ending so goddamn much. That's ass. How? But let me go a bit into what if scenarios here. Let's keep the same thing, except having more build up for this. I already talked a bit about it earlier. Imagine if we got on a 10 shadows versus limitless Shick size fight in the past, a flashback of that fight and showing a glimpse, foreshadowing something like this being possible with Mahoraga and Sukuna being present, maybe seeing that fight, or maybe Kenjaku told him about it, and this is why he wanted Megumi and the 10 shadows to always grow stronger, one of his goals there, and having that build up makes this much better, showing, hey, that was possible, they were just so close to it, but Sukuna, being Sukuna, the king of curses, he was able to do it using that as an inspiration, and this is why he wanted 10 shadows, and even more connecting the entire thing of why he wanted Megumi in the first place. If only we got on a flashback like that, imagine, and not off-screening it, of course, still don't off-screen it, but another bigger what-if scenario with this fight, I would have wished Gojo and Sukuna taken out each other. Kill each other there, both of them going out in a blaze of glory. Great ending for the strongest, and leaving it to the next generation, even more what Gojo wanted, and for Sukuna to finally have somebody that is able to face him on equal terms, give him a challenge. Greatness would have been achieved, and then you develop the next characters and focus on Kenjaku being the main villain, or if you would have kept Mahito from the previous time, what I discussed previously. Yes, give me more of that. Why couldn't we have gotten that and the other characters get room to grow, expand everything around them, and then you have the old generation going out with a bam in the form of the strongest. But unfortunately, we don't live in that timeline, and we got the worst fucking ending of the best fight in the entire series, Gojo versus Sukuna. Then the next fight, like I said, the next big fight, Takaba versus Kenjaku. I'm not a fan, I already went over it, why I wasn't a fan in itself. In a Void, good fight, but overall for the series I feel was bad. Diminishes Kenjaku, diminishes the entire series, removes one of the main villains that had some of the biggest connections to everything in the world. Useless for me, honestly, even though the comedy was there and the dynamics between them great, takes away way too much from the series. Then we come to same arc, Shinjuku Showdown, pretty much the ending of the series, but I'm gonna call it the Sukuna Gauntlet, which just throwing bodies against Sukuna back and forth. You get a black flash, you get a black flash, they get the power up back, he gets the power up back. Just going back and forth non-stop until one of the black flashes works from Yuji. Of course, I'm oversimplifying things, but at least that's how it felt here, and felt like you have this overpowered character that's able to defeat pretty much everybody, even though he doesn't actually fully kill them, considering how the series ended. A lot of them do survive somehow in this series that has death and stakes and big time. But didn't feel satisfying for me. We had a bit similar things with Madara, but Madara was so badly treated towards the end with Naruto. That's another rant. But just throwing bodies against Sukuna didn't feel satisfying for me, and him just being able to shrug everything until he suddenly wasn't. I didn't like that conclusion of the fight. That I would have liked some training between actually having a proper fight, 1 versus 1 against Sukuna, somebody giving him a fight to remember actually being able to defeat him, not after an entire gauntlet and how much he fought back and forth, never ending. That just feels underutilized for all of the characters. If Yuji was the one meant to defeat him, why not have it 1 versus 1 there and him being the next strongest one in somewhere, or anything else instead of just find out next week. Wait, no, it didn't work. Sukuna Kaisen, or at least have him win. Why not? I would have like a lot of this majority of the series towards the end. I was thinking, hey, if Sukuna wins, this series is actually gonna make sense. I would have liked that a lot more if he actually won, considering how this gauntlet worked back and forth. I'm not gonna break down every fight. It's full everywhere. If you wanna go into that sort of thing, you can fight it everywhere. All of the fights, everything, power scaling and so on. I'm not that type of guy. I just didn't enjoy how it flew between back and forth, the fluidity of it, so many characters just back and forth. Then bring this guy, Miguel is here, Higuruma is here, and all of them just but cool. Does it look cool? Hell yeah, it looks cool. It gets you hyped back and forth. All of the domain expansions, fights, powers up, Maki going in thanks to her heavenly restriction, Yuji, those 8 black flashes back and forth, just insane hype. But if you take a step back from the hype moments and everything, that what is left? Insert that meme. Do you guys have any good writing? We have hype and aura. Outside of just simply the Sukuna Gauntlet, there are some interesting things here, especially Yuji's domain or sort of memory escape thing that he did there for Kenjaku, the conversation between him there. I really liked that chapter quite a lot, because he wasn't just fighting for the sake of it, actually expanding more, trying to reach Sukuna, even though you know it's impossible. Just fits for Yuji trying to get to him, giving him that chance, showing those memories were great, showing what life means. That was awesome there, having that moment there, the conversation there between them, and how much he despises that, going against everything Sukuna believes in, giving him some more characterization and the dynamics between them. That was great. I wish we would have gotten that more throughout the fights, not just throwing fists, throwing techniques at each other like 2 action figures smashing it against each other. More of that, please. Then we pretty much get towards the last few chapters there, with Megumi finally making his move, that paddle, his entire potential, everything he could have been. I'm not saying he should have been the one to defeat Sukuna, but just being reduced to a paddle towards the end of the series, one character, part of the main trio, with this amazing potential, more time to get developed, fleshed out. He just did a paddle against Sukuna. Awesome, great stuff there. Megumi. After that we have Nobara, the plot device, coming back. Made me so mad that at least leave her dead. And I've said it, if you go back in my videos when I was covering Jujutsu Kaisen, I've said it, her technique has great potential to actually do this to Sukuna, but it feels so badly utilized using it after how she was taken out of the story. Why not give her some more time to build up to that, train into it, use it as a plan to go against Sukuna, and then she sacrifices herself to do this. Actually kill her if you're gonna do this and utilize her power like that. She gives all her soul to actually be able to touch Sukuna's soul to give the others a shot. I would have liked like that quite a lot. Then we have Sukuna finally dying to one of the black flashes that finally worked in the end. Didn't feel a satisfying way to go out. Why not have Yuji domain expansion more. Imagine if he actually was able to flesh out his domain and have a proper fight with Sukuna, or use the Sukuna's curse technique to take him out. Usually fires a Fuga or something, or bigger dismantle, or world cleave, or world slash, however you wanna call it, and takes out Sukuna the same way he took Gojo, or combining techniques, or doing something more than just a punch there. Unfortunately, Sukuna still dies a hater. I gotta respect that. He still went out hating Yuji, refusing even the second chance to stay in his body there. Gotta give him props to that. And after this, just I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? Why are we getting, I already said it a bit earlier in the video, Mei is probably one of the most influential persons right now in the Jujutsu world. Why the fuck are we getting simple domain lore exposition in the last few chapters of the series? We should have gotten this way earlier, before the Gojo and Sukuna fight. Showing the training, hey, them doing or going through this mission to fix the bullshit higher-ups that were taking advantage of how the Jujutsu world works, draining the life of and limiting knowledge of how simple domain works. Showing that them doing that mission, learning this, and then you show the results in the fight. Mind-boggling. If we would have gotten this earlier, instead right at the end where everything matters, how you close out the story. It feels like just, hey, I forgot about this. This is how it works there. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, why not? Then the next chapter there, just the aftermath, them going over the plan with how it worked, how they could have done better. I feel like a bit Gege talking back to everybody that was reading the story. This could have worked, this didn't work because of that, and facing just showing how much they suck at plans. Honestly, here, we should have had this conversation when they were making the plan. Before we saw the plan. Hey, this is not gonna work because of this. We have to do it like this. And then showing every plan gets thrown to shit on the battlefield. Instead of having this aftermath here, like just breaking down the entire plan and showing... I kind of hated this chapter, if I'm being honest. And then at the end, Yuta's fine. There was never a concept of that monster showing any consequences for him going into Gojo's body. But then even more, no fucking acknowledgement of Gojo, his sacrifices, what he meant. He was always treated as this weapon, and I know I hate that. Just don't remember me, that chapter there, that flashback. How can you treat your cash cow literally like this? Not giving him a proper funeral, given more attention to Megumi's sister instead of Gojo, some acknowledgement for him, what happened to his body, some reactions for the character, some grief. I understand you can't grieve or you can't internalize that pain of losing somebody when you're literally fighting the devil during those fights there. Perfectly understandable, you don't have the time. But this is the ending of the series. Show some reaction, some internalizing of the characters, of what happened, acknowledging the efforts of Gojo, of everything that he did. Higuruma also survives somehow, because why not? All of the baits for bringing Gojo back, yeah, we're gonna bring him back, then we get usual moment, it doesn't matter anything. Megumi and his paddle, I'm like, why could have had so much? Feels so unsatisfying. And in this series where characters have deaths and stakes, so many of them come back. And hot take here, the ending was worse than Demon Slayer and My Hero Academia. Like, My Hero Academia didn't have the best of endings. I didn't like that Deku didn't have any meaningful relationship with his romance there, Ochako. But that's whatever. I love the memes, of course. But it still was a better conclusion, a better epilogue overall. Even the fight against the main villain was better. Even the world actually was darker in a way than Jujutsu Kaisen. Actually, not in a way, it was definitely darker. Jujutsu Kaisen is just more horror designs instead of actually being darker. My Hero Academia world is a lot shittier to actually live in, considering the quirks and how many people's lives are ruined because of that, and how society works and heroes just for profit. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent there. But honestly, Demon Slayer had a better ending overall than both of them, considering Demon Slayer actually killed characters in the last fight. Proper build up for taking Muzan down. The main character did it, actually had consequences because of that. Insane. Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia. Where's the meme? Perhaps I judged you too harshly. I want to see you be honest about that there. And simple story, executed better. I would prefer that instead of this thing that's supposed to be this complex and life-changing, like Jujutsu Kaisen. Everybody was saying it's gonna be done this way, executed towards the end, and very unsatisfying there. And the emotional sides for Demon Slayer were much better touch. The character writing in My Hero Academia is much better. Even one of the worst characters as a human being Endeavor, his character arc is insane how well he's written. What is a character like that written in Jujutsu Kaisen that makes you feel? And then the last thing with Sukuna's choice. Go two ways. Who the fuck is that woman there? Give us some more context on that. A flashback. I'm going back to flashbacks. Show us, why did he make that choice in the first place? I understand, now he admits defeats, he wants something new, sure. But expand more on that. Who was she? Why did he make the choice in the first place? What happened there? What led him up to this? Uraume, expanding more on that. His conversation with Mahito, also just Mahito being in limbo, and then his finger there towards the end, and that symbolism that a lot of people are saying just curses are not there. He's not dangerous anymore right now. He used for protection. Like, sure, I get it, but I'm still disappointed in the ending. Honestly, I didn't like the conclusion. I didn't like a lot of the things during Shibuya, and especially after Shibuya and the big announcements that we've gotten. And I like how baiting part 2, which we definitely needed part 2, just the gifts, guidebook, stage play, exhibition, compilation movie, and 100 million copies in circulation, which, congratulations, the series has been very, very successful. Wish nothing but the best for Gege, but I still think I should voice my disappointments here. I just wanted more from a series like this, honestly. It hurts me, and I feel like people did more for the series than the author in some cases. Now let's talk about some leftover plot lines, unresolved things, and so on. What the fuck happened with Tengen and the barriers? What does that mean? Guess we'll never know. What about the military plot? United States kidnapping people and every other nation on roll now that curse is existing is public knowledge. Geto's body, Gojo's body, their what happened that? What happened with Uro, the Culling Games overall, the Kyoto students, what the fuck are they doing? Todo and Yuki, some reactions to her death from him, and what? What are we gonna do with those leftover things? It's insane that we have things like this being left on the table here. Yuji's domain. What's the name of it? How exactly does it work? Like I said already, Megumi being potential man, would have liked more from him. Nobara. Gojo's death not being acknowledged, no reactions, no grief. Sukuna no backstory, actually, no world building for the Heian era, for the Jutsu world, how it started, how people discovered cursed energy to actually use it. Last chapters just felt like random all over the place things. The conversation, curse energy, pursue that or drop it and focus on human military, like just annoys me how many things were left unresolved and we're probably never gonna get an answer to them, and I'm missing so many things. Let me know in the comments what other things I'm missing that is not resolved in the series. I'm sure there's a big one that I'm probably not thinking of right now. But yeah, unresolved things and big things in such a series just disappoints me so much, let alone with all of the other issues that we already went through. So the series overall, I enjoy it, but also I'm very disappointed. Hurts me to say this, I have so many issues with it, could have had something great, but yet here we are, and I probably missed so many things that I wanted to touch on, and could have done this video like 10 hours long, breaking down everything, even more. Chapter 236, Gojo's response there in the airport, and gone through so many things, but I'm already getting into Lobotomy Kaisen, to say the least. I don't know, score, whatever, I think it's like a 6 out of 10. The anime is probably gonna push it to like a 7 out of 10. Great fights, great concepts, bad execution, poor story, bad character relationships, writing, and so on. I hope you guys stuck around until the end with overall the series. I do hope you at least listen to my arguments, even though sometimes I rambled on. I'm really curious if you agree, disagree, why, for either, or let me down in the comments below. How do you feel about the series? What were your biggest problems? What were you disappointed in? What did you like the most? What would you have liked to be done differently? But now, let's go a bit into something else, not just the writing and the story of Jujutsu Kaisen. I want to talk a bit about the community. I feel like the community did a lot of heavy lifting for the series, in a good way and a bad way. Like, the memes have been fucking great. Especially the Naadwin thing. And insane. The lobotomy, the agendas, the back and forth. That just, I love it all. I want to say thank you to all of the subreddits, Discords, Twitters, everything, for all of the fun, laughs, discussions, back and forth, and anything in between. All of the fans, to Gege, to everybody that was involved with this series. It has been great. Do I have issues yet? But I still love it here. But now for the bad side, some of you are fucking idiots. Take it way too far, especially with spoilers. It's insane how many people have gotten spoiled because of this. Is how I got into a manga. I personally prefer anime as the medium, but then I got everything spoiled with Gojo and Sukuna, and that's when I'm like, okay, fuck it, I have to read. Now, even the spoilers don't bother me. I have no issues with spoiler. Personally, I get why people find spoilers annoying. I'm the weird guy here. But I try to dodge spoilers for series I do videos on. And I've done videos for Jujutsu Kaisen since season 1. But spoilers be spoilers. You're never gonna dodge spoilers. Wanna say a big fuck you, especially are for leaks. Leaks fucking suck ass. And praising leakers as these Jesus in the leak community just diminishes so much the work, the authors, everybody else in the staff behind this, be it assistants for Gege, the animators, everybody involved for these leaks just blowing. The mistranslation, the cloud chasing, the toxicity in between, and the moron that also after the series ended decided to leak Hunter x Hunter, fuck you especially. So leaks, stop it. Just fucking stop it with the leaks here, and as a community just do a better job in general. Being one of the great and one of the worst communities here. Let's get into some recommendation now that Jujutsu Kaisen is over. First one being probably the most obvious one, get into Bleach. If you haven't gotten into Bleach, it's one of the biggest inspirations for Jujutsu Kaisen, and personally it does a much better job at majority of things. And we are getting right now the anime, which is also gonna fix a lot of the things in the manga, especially the ending, the last arc right now, 1000-year Blood War arc. Just get into Bleach if you haven't. Already talked about My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, how they somehow done a better job even with all of their issues. I'm sure you know about them. Toriko, if you haven't gotten into Toriko, the concept of cooking, food fights around that, aura would be an understatement what Toriko has. Magi is great. Also have a Gojo-like character with Sinbad. If you haven't heard of Magi, you're in for greatness. Hunter x Hunter, of course, doing the much better job at power systems and character writing and binding vows. If you just want fighting for the sake of fighting, but actually giving characters downtime, history, motivations between them, get into Record of Ragnarok. I know the anime had poor animation, but get into Record of Ragnarok, the manga. Then Bungo Stray Dogs, another awesome series with characters, fights, cool powers here. Kagurabachi, I have to get into myself. I can't say I heard only good things about it, but I haven't read it, so I can't say if I like it or I don't like it. I probably am gonna end up liking it. And one, Bucky. Get into Bucky if you just want ridiculousness for the sake of it and exaggerated to an extreme, but in a really good way. And Yujiro Hanma is a better Sukuna by far. You need to get into Kingdom. I know the anime has really bad animation, especially at the start. It gets better after season 3, including season 3 and beyond. Get into the manga. Whatever you do, just get into Kingdom. If you like aura, hype, moments, things that get you insane standing up on your feet screaming, read Kingdom. I do have a video here if you want to see me ranting more about Kingdom and hyping it up, but please do yourself a favor and get into Kingdom. This series is so goddamn good. And probably a lot of other series that I'm not thinking. I try to give some recommendation for similar series, at least to Jujutsu Kaisen, not just go out of your way and suddenly watch Vinland Saga. Even though Vinland Saga is a great series, not really similar to Jujutsu Kaisen, even though I love Vinland Saga so goddamn much. But yeah, let me know what other series would you guys recommend if people have finished Jujutsu Kaisen. Comment down below some recommendations. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm probably gonna think of another million things to say after this video, or say something different, or something I missed, or something I wanted. But I feel like that just says why Jujutsu Kaisen ended up being a disappointment for me. Leaving things unfinished, unresolved. done poorly. And I forgot to add Undead Unlocked recommendation. Watch that also. But yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen, love you, but you could have been great. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that watched until here. Me rambling, going into tangents, talking out of my ass, saying random stuff. I love you. I wish you nothing but the best, and I do hope you enjoyed the video. You also enjoyed the series. I'm curious what you guys think of the series overall, of what I said so far, and thank you very much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Helps me quite a lot, and you guys get the latest videos on the series that I do. And please check out some of the other videos on the channel, be it episodic, weekly videos, or some of the other special videos I've done over Hated series, Isekai series, Old Man anime tier list. You can find them. Just go through, and I'm gonna see you again on the next one. Keep enjoying anime and manga. Bye bye.